All right, day three. So yesterday I tried to uh, do my best at making an ad for Copilot University, which is, a Google Doc explaining how AI is now inside of Google Docs, inside of Gmail, and that's something that they just launched probably a couple days ago. And between that and rewatching my first one, I I wrote down some things to remember and continue to do and get better at. So the first thing I'm trying a lot better is eye contact, looking at the camera, looking at the right down the lens. I think that's something I'm always going to have to get better at. That's something that I am not super good at, and I was watching a bunch of videos on how to do that better, and so I think that's one piece of this. Another piece of this is energy, laughing. I'm gonna have to laugh a lot more and be entertaining. And I think effectively I've mumbled my whole life, and seeing that for an hour is a lot, and it's having me revisit a lot of my how do I talk, how do people view me, how do people see me. And so for the last 2 days I've been kind of walking around with that in my head of how are people getting a better perspective on how people see me. I don't I don't think of it as they see a different me, but I think watching yourself on camera for the first time in forever, I don't think I've ever really had any videos of myself, reminds me that uh, it's it's different. It's not something I'm used to. So, and that's all part of this growth process. So this is day three. I I really wanted to quit already. This is crazy. I already wanted to quit. Um, but this is gonna sound so stupid and cliche, but I looked into Luther's eyes this morning, and I don't know. I think this is for my kids in some way, and I think that will continue to grow and make more sense. I was up all night last night, thinking not all night, but I was thinking about this as I was falling asleep. How to cater this, where to take this to the next. What's the next step with this? I started trying to build out a plan for having guests on the show and interviewing them, and categorizing the latest AI tools, and started thinking through like what does a business owner want to learn about from an AI perspective, and I think that's all important stuff that needs to be covered in some respect. But I think I don't know. I think this will be an interesting period of my life as I figure out what my message is and what my voice is, and that's kind of the whole point, is that this is being recorded to show that I don't have one right now. You know, I have a lot of thoughts. I have a lot of things that I think will be helpful to people. Um, I have a lot of tools in my tool belt that I've used for years to make myself happier, or um, more disciplined, or overall just improve my life. And I think I have a lot to share about that. And I'm a little nervous to pigeonhole myself into one thing, knowing also that, like AI, which also I know that if I don't pigeonhole myself into one specific message, that I won't have a target audience because they are looking for one thing. And at the end of the day, this needs to be entertaining for someone to care and to watch and to want to spend their time, and that's the point, is you need to get something out of this and be entertained. And I'm still looking for ways to do that, and also like do it well, but also do it on the cheap. And I think that's going to be something I'll have to figure out along the way of what's important to me, and if it's getting the most people to watch or listen or not. I think that's going to be something that's going to be hard for me because, like I said, I think I'll have to put on a new persona, and I think I'm already kind of testing the waters with that, making more eye contact, being more happy and presentable, making myself bigger. I think talking louder, talking more clearly. I think it's all part of the journey, and it's scaring the crap out of me to have it all live, but I think this is really important. I think it's reminding me of Bo Burnham has a whole special where it's called Make Happy, and the whole point is that he's trying to explain that he loves performing and he needs an audience to do that, but also the audience scares him and gives him panic attacks and controls his life, and he like wants to entertain them but also wants to be himself. And I hate to say I'm seeing a lot of that in how I think about this week, today, day 3. I'm sure it'll change next week, and that's the whole point. Um, but on day 3, I'm less. I don't know. I guess I don't feel like I need to cater to any one specific thing right now. And maybe I'll get frustrated and burnt out, feeling like no one cares after a month or whatever of this. And like I said, I've already wanted to quit so much that it's like, I think right now I just want to do what's easy and what's fun and what I think is helpful and interesting to somebody. Um, if I pretend my audience, my dream audience member is somebody that what is me, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, that really probably needed somebody to just be awful, like to learn from scratch uh, how specialized, how professional, how things don't happen on accident. That I think that's probably one of my overarching messages in all of this is that that's something I've picked up over the last definitely last few months, but definitely last 10 years too, is like you don't accidentally become great. The idea that somebody gets lucky, this whole like get lucky atmosphere or idea or story that we tell people or interview people and say, then I got my big break. I think, I don't know, I think I've never understood that to the degree of how ridiculous it is. I think it's easy to point out that that isn't true, that it takes years of work, but I just feel like the thing I've just never understood completely is how a human overcomes that feeling every single day for years. And that's something I've never really witnessed, I've witnessed the befores, I've witnessed the afters, but I very, very have rarely have interacted with somebody in the durings, in the trials, in the sucking. And I think that's part of this is figuring out that piece and showing people that piece exists. Because that's where I'm at, I'm in the sucking, I'm in the during, I'm I'm in there's a higher purpose to this part and I can feel it, but I don't know the details of it yet, and I feel like that's kind of where everyone starts that has a message that I want to share and, just want to help people. I think that's kind of goes back to everything is how do you help people in the way they need to be helped? And how do you have them listen? But it's hard because you have to change yourself for people to listen to. And I think I'm still wrestling with that. And the great people gloss over that. That is just so easy to them, that their message is so important that they would change their hairstyle, their face. They would get plastic surgery to get their followers to join them. Like I think that's something, as somebody that's never come natural to me, that's going to be an interesting path forward of how that works. Because I think I'm going to wrestle with that. And it might be like everything else, just like gaining and losing weight too. It's like if you ask me every day, I will probably say this is confusing and I don't know what to do. But over the course of months, weeks and months and years, you don't see, it just looks like I'm a whole different person overnight, because it just kind of like happens so slowly for me that it feels like it's very, very small. I think that's how gaining weight is too, is you make one small habit change and then you stick to it for months and years, and you don't really understand why you're or gaining or losing weight because of that one small habit change. And I think that's kind of where this is heading towards, is like I need to make tiny habit changes, and somebody who watches something that I make a month ago or 2 months ago or 6 months ago it'll look like I'm a wholly different person, but every single day it feels like it's the worst. It's the most confusing, and um it's it all goes back to the flashlight points as far as it can point, and you have to keep walking into the darkness past that point. Like, you don't know. I don't know what I don't know at this point. I know that the flashlight with my mentors and coaches are telling me to keep walking in that direction, despite like it being total darkness as to like what, how, if this is a good idea even still. I think I'm going to have that struggle for quite a while. I think that's going to be months. Can you, like, am I ready for months of that? Are you ready for months of that? If you're following this journey, I, it's up for you to decide. Um, Months is a long time. I told you, day zero, I'm calling it, 2 days ago. Um, I think 10 days is the most I've gone. And this is a hard one. This isn't like writes like, journal every day. This is like put your face out there, have energy, like try, think about it all day, think about what to do, how to do it, who is you, who is everyone. And this one's hard. I already wanted to quit. And it's like I said, this is, I don't know what to call it, day 2, day 3. I started on Friday. This is Sunday. Uh, it took a lot of my will to not quit today and yesterday. Um, it's hard. It's hard not knowing. It's hard not having a plan. And I think a lot of people you follow or podcasts you listen to, even their first episode, they had an idea of what to do. They had like a pretty large like plan, And I think I need that. But I think for me personally, getting moving and creating the good habit, that's what I need to do first. I'm reading this book, Atomic Habits, and it'll blow your mind. I highly recommend it. Atomic Habits by James Clear. Create a good habit, stick to it every day, make it easy, make it easier. I set up this whole way of recording myself exactly the exact place and like as simple as possible so that I can't avoid doing it for any reason. And I need to find a way of scheduling it so I don't eat lunch until this is over, until I have this part of my day done, or whatever, or don't eat dinner or don't go to bed. Like, I need to find that time that it's called habit stacking, where I'm stacking this habit on something else so that I'm getting it done, because it's so easy to quit and to not try and to, make it the worst thing on earth. I'm hearing Luther crying right now. I gotta go help him. But yeah, we're still here. We're still going to keep pushing. I think I'm going to learn more about what this is about and what this is for as this goes on. But I'm thinking it's going to be kind of like how I built this at this point, how I built whatever this ends up being. And I think it's going to be helpful to people that need to figure out their journey. And I think as AI makes the whole world crazier with automation and simplicity and press a button and get whatever result you want out, I think the world's going to have a lot of time they're going to have a lot more struggle with this part, which is what do I actually do with this extra free time or perfect magic buttons that make my dreams come true? How do I actually overcome the hard parts? How do I actually figure out what I want to spend my time on and how to build something that's good and that people like and people want and helps people? I think it's going to be, I think, we've already kind of headed in that direction with, like, teenagers are afraid to go out in the world, and it's not their fault. It's because we've shown them like the hardest parts of the world, which is that like everyone can see everything you're doing all the time if you let them. And that's scary, and I don't think I would have been able to handle that very well as a teenager. And I can see how a lot of them don't want to leave, don't want to go do something, don't want to fail, don't want to take chances, because the internet's forever, and it's taken me 16 years of having the internet before I'm willing to put myself out there and fail online. And the thing I guess I wanted to mention is I think it goes back to relationships. It goes back to your partnerships, the people in your corner. Like I I've spent the last years, like probably 5 years of my life, building up this community of people that I believe love me and care about me regardless of whatever I do. And once I kind of tackled that hierarchy of need, and I still worry that they will judge me or whatever, that they'll leave me if I do too much of this or do it in the wrong way. Um, but I feel pretty secure right now that those people will still want me around and love me and encourage me, and even if this is totally a dumb idea. And I think you a human need that, and I don't think it's something you can gloss over unless you're a sociopath or a really confident person, that's why I think a lot of these really confident people become famous or popular or powerful, is because they skip over that step of like, get enough people in your corner that you can be yourself and fail and it's okay. And that's not something that's going to like cripple you, or I don't, maybe I shouldn't use that word. Like really, really hold you back or really like push your buttons where it takes over your brain and your life. Um, you got to find those people, and they can be anybody. I found I'm closer with my dad than I've ever been in my whole life, and the reason I am is because I started trying to be, you know, and ask questions. And the more you learn about your parents, it's like it's so interesting about what they've been through. And now that I'm a parent, like all the decisions they had to make, and you want to judge them for their decisions, but it's totally different making those decisions too as a parent. Um, yeah, I'm sure that's kind of rambling, and maybe I'll do a whole day on parents. I could probably do months on parents and like how your perspective changes from being one to not being one to being one. But um, I think I'll get more organized with this. I think it'll become more interesting and fun and entertaining. But I think it's good to start raw. It's good to start totally from zero, and um, I think figuring out what's important to you is hard, and but the worst thing you can do is not try and sit on the couch and wish you did. I feel like that was my whole 20s, is sitting on the couch wishing I tried anything more than a week. And like I said, I would have quit this by now. Brian age 16 through probably 31 and a half would have quit this by now. But like I said in day zero, I'm wide awake. I'm starting to see my blind spots very clearly, and or as many of them as I can. And we'll see where that goes. I We'll see where that goes. I think it's fun that I don't have a real plan for this, because I'm such a planner and I'm such a like preparer, and I feel like if you fail when you didn't have a plan, it's your fault. And this is kind of an interesting thing because I don't have a real plan, but that's kind of the point, is to show you that I don't have a plan and see what happens, and keep pushing and keep trying. I really liked how I ended day zero. I've been thinking about it. I'm like teaching myself, right? I'm coaching myself throughout this. That's funny. I'm pulling things I say, and I'm feeling more powerful that somebody said them when I was the one that said them. That's kind of, I'll have to get used to that. I'm sure like really important people see their own quotes and get power from them, which is ironic, right? But yeah, I think it's the same thing as what I said, is like, if you want a tip, try. And if you want the secret, keep trying. I think that just goes back to everything. How do we do anything? The thing I was how it presented itself in my real life today. My son is 7 months old and trying so hard to crawl, so hard. And like every single day he's trying to crawl, and he's like rocking back and forth. And my daughter Lorelai is 2.5, almost 3, and she's dreading going on the potty. and we were trying different tactics to get her to use the potty. And I was watching both of them today and thinking to myself that like they're both going to crawl and walk and use the potty days, months, years from now, and we're gonna like totally shrug because that's what the average person does, you know. But it is so hard for them right now, you know. Like they're Luther tries so hard. Like he's not even a year old and he's struggling for like 10, 20, 30 minutes straight to crawl. And the ironic thing is like he thinks nothing of that. He doesn't think that he's trying to be better or different. He doesn't feel like he's I feel like the analogy is like starting a podcast or starting a company. You're opening yourself up for criticism, critiques, everything, feedback, good or bad. But crawling, no one will say, wow, he's trying crawling. No one will say it's something that isn't normal. It's a normal process. Everyone is pro crawling. And I think it's interesting because he's seeing me walk around. He's seeing his hero and savior, me. I'm not saying I am, but it's just like how he views the world. Like if I didn't exist, he would be dead. Like I'm the only thing keeping him alive from his perspective. He sees me walking around and he needs me and he wants to be like me. And I think if we put things in terms like that, you know, with our mentors and coaches and goals, and we surround ourselves with only people that do those things very well or much better than us or as part of their daily routine, I feel like it's a really good metaphor for life and taking on challenges and doing great things and helping people is if you can surround yourself with people that do that thing every single day. And I don't mean surround yourself as in like the generic way that people use it because it's so easy to say that phrase. I mean like literally only watch videos of those people, only listen to podcasts of those people, only read those people's books, literally only talk to those kinds of people, and really, really be careful spending time or energy in any other relationship. I'm not saying that you shouldn't talk to anybody else ever again, but know how you spend your time and who you're talking to is going to significantly affect if you're successful with that goal or not. And I think at the end of the day, that just goes back to how important is it to you? And age 16 through 31 and a half, Brian would have said, maybe it's not that important to me at the end of the day. Maybe that's just it. That's the end of it. I'm not ready for that change that I want. I spent probably a year or two in therapy talking through that exact point, which is I see all these things that I want, and I know in my heart that I don't have the willpower to do them. What do I do? What's the goal? What's the next step for me? How do I grow? How do I do that? How do I improve myself when I know I actively am not making decisions to make it possible? And that was a hard one. I definitely took, like I said, probably a year or two talking through that, you know, on a weekly basis. Not every day, but like, you know, as a theme. And I think I'll leave you on a cliffhanger. I'll talk more about that in the future. I hear Luther crying and going crazy, and I got to help my wife. So, till next time, thank you, and keep pushing and don't quit. So, see ya.